The earth grows cold beneath their feet, and the warriors know that tomorrow may birth their final dawn. In the dying light of winter's embrace, they gather not around fire's warmth, but in the sacred silence that precedes the deepest rest. Sleep, to these men of iron and frost, is not mere surrender to exhaustion. It is the most profound ritual of preparation, a deliberate descent into the realm where gods whisper and fate reveals her hand. The longhouse stands against the northern wind like a sleeping giant, its timber walls scarred by countless winters. Within these sacred bounds, 30 warriors move with the measured cadence of men who have learned to walk between worlds. Their footsteps echo not with haste, but with the deliberate rhythm of those who understand that every action before sleep carries the weight of prayer. The air hangs thick with the scent of pine resin and the iron tang of weapons cleaned and blessed, each blade a promise whispered to the gods of war. Bjorn, the Ravenborn, sets down his war axe with hands that have known both creation and destruction. The weapon finds its place beside his sleeping furs, with the reverence of a father laying his child to rest. His eyes, pale as winter ice, study the steel's edge one final time before the darkness claims him. In this moment between waking and dreaming, he performs the first sacred act, the acknowledgement that his weapon, like his spirit, must rest to retain its killing edge. The axe gleams in the firelight, patient and faithful, waiting for dawn's call to war. The ritual begins not with words but with silence. Each warrior turns inward, away from the bonds of brotherhood that bind them in battle, toward the solitary journey that sleep demands. They remove their leather and mail with the same ceremonial care that priests disrobe before entering temple halls. Each piece of armor is not merely set aside but positioned according to ancient custom, helm to the north, shield to the west, sword to the east, creating a protective circle around their vulnerable sleeping forms. The metal rings and buckles whisper against wood like distant wind chimes, a metallic lullaby that speaks of wars won and battles yet to come. Young Eric, whose beard has only begun to gather frost, watches the veterans with eyes that drink in every gesture. He sees how Magnus the Wolf's Blood places his shield not flat upon the ground, but propped against the wall at precisely the angle that catches moonlight through the smoke hole above. He observes how Thorvald the Silent arranges his weapons in the pattern of the hammer of Thor, creating a ward against night terrors and evil dreams. These are not superstitions but sacred mathematics, geometries of protection passed down through generations of warriors who understood that the battlefield begins in dreams. The furs that await them are not mere bedding, but altars of transformation. Each pelt tells its own saga. Bear fur from the creature that nearly claimed Gunnar's life in the mountains of Sargon, wolfhide from the pack that Olaf faced alone during the Winter of Seven Moons. The warriors sink into these embraces of former enemies with profound reverence, understanding that they now rest within the power of beasts that once sought their destruction. The irony is not lost on them. In death, their enemies provide the very comfort that prepares them for life's continuation. As bodies settle into position, the true ritual begins, the positioning of limbs and torso according to patterns older than memory. They do not simply lie down, but arrange themselves as living runes, their bodies spelling out prayers in the ancient language that gods read in the darkness. Some curl into the spiral of Jormungand, the world serpent, embracing the cycle of destruction and renewal. Others stretch into the straight lines of Isa, the ice rune, seeking the clarity that comes from perfect stillness. Each position is chosen not for comfort, but for spiritual alignment, turning sleep into a form of sacred geometry. The fire burns low, but never dies completely, its embers maintained by those who understand that dreams require just enough light to navigate the shadow realm between life and death. The flames cast shifting patterns across the longhouse walls, creating a theater of shadows where the sleeping warriors appear to move and breathe with supernatural rhythm. The interplay of light and darkness transforms their resting forms into something beyond mortal flesh. They become vessels prepared to receive visions, omens, and the whispered strategies of war gods, who speak only to those brave enough to venture into sleep's battlefield. Outside, the wind carries the scent of snow and the promise of storm. Inside, 30 warriors breathe in unison, their exhalations creating a fog that rises like incense toward the smoke hole, where stars peer down with ancient eyes. Each breath is counted, controlled, transformed from mere bodily function into meditation. They do not simply fall asleep, They journey into it with the same courage they bring to any expedition into unknown territory. Sleep, they know, is the final frontier that must be conquered each night, the one enemy that can only be defeated by absolute surrender. The ritual reaches its crescendo in the moment of transition, that sacred threshold where consciousness yields to the realm beyond. Here, in this space between heartbeats, between thoughts, between the world of men and the world of gods, they perform their final act of preparation. Some murmur prayers so ancient that the words predate the languages of kings. Others trace protective symbols on their chests, with fingers that know the pattern by touch alone. All of them surrender their wakeful selves to powers greater than human will, trusting that they will be returned transformed, strengthened, prepared for whatever dawn may demand of their mortal flesh and immortal spirits. In the depth of sleep's embrace, the warriors enter territories unmapped by mortal feet, realms where the boundary between self and cosmos dissolves like morning mist before the sun. Their dreams are not the chaotic fragments of common men, but structured journeys, pilgrimage paths through landscapes of symbol and omen. Here, in these sacred hours when the body lies still as death but the spirit soars like ravens over battlefield, they commune with forces that shape destiny and bend the arc of fate to their warrior's will. The dream realm unfolds like a vast tapestry woven from threads of memory, prophecy, and divine intention. Bjorn the Ravenborn finds himself standing on a cliff of black stone beneath a sky pregnant with storm clouds that pulse with otherworldly light. The wind that whips through his dream hair carries the voices of his ancestors, speaking in the old tongue about battles fought before his birth and wars yet to come. Below him spreads an ocean of silver dark water, where the dead sail in ships of bone and shadow, their eyes gleaming with the wisdom that only comes after the final breath. He understands, in the way that dreamers understand all things, that he stands at the crossroads between the world of the living and the realm of eternal warriors. The god appears without fanfare or announcement, as gods do in the dreams of worthy men. Odin the One-Eyed materializes from the storm itself, his form shifting between man and raven, between wisdom and war. His single eye burns with the cold fire of stars, and when he looks upon the sleeping warrior, Bjorn feels his very soul measured and weighed. The All-Father speaks not in words but in visions that unfold like flowers of ice and iron, images of tomorrow's battle, the positioning of enemies, the moment when courage must overcome the animal instinct for survival. These are not mere dreams but strategic briefings, conducted in the theater of the unconscious mind. Magnus the Wolf's Blood dreams of running with his pack across endless tundra, his human consciousness merged with the collective mind of the wolf clan. His paws strike earth hardened by eternal frost, each step a drumbeat that echoes across the dreamscape like thunder rolling through valleys of bone. The pack moves with perfect unity, 30 minds thinking as one, 30 hearts beating to the same primal rhythm. In this dream state, he learns the deepest secrets of brotherhood, how individual will must dissolve into group consciousness, how personal fear becomes shared courage when filtered through the pack's collective spirit. The alpha wolf, whose eyes hold the ancient wisdom of the hunt, shows him how tomorrow's battle must unfold with the same coordinated precision. Young Eric's dreams carry him back through time to the moment of his birth, when the Norns who weave fate looked upon his infant form and spoke his destiny in words that shaped the very air around his cradle. He sees his life spread out like a battle map, each choice a path that leads toward glory or shame, each decision a crossroads where heroism and cowardice wrestle for dominance of his soul. The dream reveals to him the invisible threads that connect all warriors across time, how his actions tomorrow will echo in the dreams of warriors not yet born, how the courage he shows or fails to show will ripple through generations like stones cast into still water. Thorvald, the silent, true to his nature, dreams in pure silence. His unconscious mind creates vast spaces filled with the absence of sound, cathedral chambers, where the only communication occurs through the sharing of spiritual essence. In this wordless realm, he communes with the spirits of weapons, every sword, axe, and spear possessed of its own consciousness, its own hunger for glory and blood. The weapons speak to him, not in language, but in the deep knowledge of metal and edge, teaching him the secret names of death and the hidden mathematics of violence. He learns how each strike must flow from the last, like verses in an epic poem, how battle itself becomes a form of prayer when performed with perfect spiritual alignment. The dream visions carry prophecy wrapped in symbol and metaphor. Some warriors see themselves as trees whose roots drink deep from wells of ancestral wisdom, while their branches reach toward the hall of the gods. Others become rivers that carve new channels through landscapes of possibility, their currents carrying the hopes and fears of entire bloodlines toward unknown seas. The most profound dreams transform the warriors into forces of nature, thunder that speaks the language of war, snow that covers the earth with the silence of death, fire that purifies through destruction and creates through the ashes of what was. In the deepest hours before dawn, their collective unconscious begins to merge and blend like streams flowing into a mighty river. The individual dreams of 30 warriors combine into a single vast vision, a prophetic tapestry that reveals not just tomorrow's battle, but the cosmic significance of their struggle. They see themselves as instruments in the hands of fate, each warrior a single note in a symphony of violence and honor that has been playing since the world's beginning and will continue until the final twilight of the gods. This shared vision binds them more deeply than blood brotherhood, more completely than oaths sworn over sacred fires. The gods of war walk among them in these dream realms, not as distant deities, but as fellow warriors who understand the sacred nature of violence offered in service to honor. Tyr the one-handed shows them how sacrifice becomes strength, how loss transforms into wisdom when embraced with courage rather than bitterness. Balder the beautiful reveals the connection between beauty and violence, how the aesthetics of perfect battle form elevate killing from mere slaughter to sacred art. Each divine encounter leaves the sleeping warriors changed, their spirits tempered like steel in the forge of divine wisdom. As the night deepens toward its darkest hour, the dream battles begin. Here, in the realm of pure consciousness, they fight enemies both personal and universal, their own fears given form, their doubts made manifest as creatures of shadow and despair. Victory in these spiritual combats requires different weapons than those of iron and wood. Here, they must wield courage like a sword, faith like a shield, wisdom like a spear that strikes true through the heart of illusion. Each dream victory strengthens their resolve for the battles of flesh and blood that await in the waking world. The rhythm of their sleeping breath continues its steady cadence, but now it has become something more than mere respiration. Each exhale releases the doubts and weaknesses that accumulate in the soul like rust on metal. Each inhale draws in the strength and wisdom offered by gods and ancestors who watch over worthy warriors. Their bodies, motionless in the flickering firelight, have become temples where the sacred transformation occurs, altars where mortal flesh prepares to house spirits capable of transcending the limitations of human fear and mortal frailty. The gods' messengers come in the form of omens woven into the fabric of sleep, signs that speak in the ancient language of symbol and portent. Ravens the size of storm clouds perch upon the rafters of dream-long houses, their black eyes reflecting futures written in blood and starlight. These are not mere birds, but extensions of divine consciousness, scouts sent from Valhalla to observe and evaluate the worthiness of those who would join the eternal war. Their calls echo through sleeping minds like war horns calling the worthy to arms, each note a judgment passed upon the soul's readiness for glory or doom. The sleeping warriors' bodies begin to manifest the physical signs of spiritual transformation. Muscles that seemed relaxed in rest now carry the subtle tension of coiled springs, ready to explode into action at the first whisper of dawn. Their skin grows pale and cold as northern stone, as if the ice of their dreams has begun to crystallize in their very blood. Veins stand out like river channels carrying not merely blood, but liquid courage, flowing streams of valor that will, when awakened, transform these mortal forms into vessels worthy of legendary deeds. The cold that seeps through the longhouse walls does not touch them now. They have become one with winter's heart. Dreams of the ice realm unfold in crystalline clarity, revealing landscapes where every surface reflects the truth of the dreamer's soul. Here, in halls carved from glacial ice that has never known the touch of sun, the warriors encounter their own reflections multiplied, infinitely, past selves, future selves, possible selves, that might have been had different choices been made at crucial moments. Each reflection speaks without words, sharing wisdom earned through victories achieved and defeats endured in timelines that branch like the roots of Yggdrasil through the many-layered reality of existence. They learn that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite terror's icy grip upon the heart. The communal aspects of their sleep ritual begin to manifest in shared visions that transcend individual consciousness. 30 minds, prepared through ritual and hardened through trial, begin to dream as one entity, a collective warrior spirit that embodies the accumulated wisdom and strength of their brotherhood. In this merged state, the weaknesses of individuals become strengths when supported by the group's combined will. The doubts that plague one warrior are answered by the certainties of his brothers. The fears that would cripple a lone fighter become manageable when distributed among 30 souls united in purpose and destiny. Ancient memories surface like treasures retrieved from the depths of ancestral consciousness. They dream of the first warriors who learned to transform sleep into spiritual preparation, the legendary figures whose names are remembered in songs sung around winter fires. These primordial fighters discovered that the battlefield exists first in the realm of spirit and thought, before manifesting in the world of flesh and steel. By conquering fear in dreams, they learned to face death with the calm certainty of those who have already visited that dark country, and returned with wisdom etched upon their souls like scars that tell stories of triumph. The longhouse itself becomes a sacred vessel carrying them through the night sea toward dawn's distant shore. Its wooden beams creak and sigh like the ribs of some great whale swimming through oceans of starlight and shadow. The fire at its heart pulses like a beating heart, each flicker of flame a moment in the cosmic rhythm that connects all living things to the source of existence. The smoke that rises through the opening above carries with it the essence of their prayers and preparations, bearing their offerings of courage and devotion to the gods, who watch over warriors and judge the worthiness of those who would enter their halls. The weapons arranged around their sleeping forms begin to resonate with spiritual energy, responding to the depth of their owner's commitment to the warrior's path. Steel sings silently in harmony with sleeping hearts, each blade's edge growing sharper through proximity to souls prepared for ultimate sacrifice. The shields, positioned to catch and reflect moonlight, become mirrors that show not physical forms but spiritual essence. The true shape of courage, the actual color of honor, the real weight of duty carried by those who have chosen to live and die by the sword. These are no longer mere tools of war, but extensions of the warrior's refined spirits. Night terrors that would visit lesser men cannot penetrate the protective circle created by proper ritual preparation. The demons of doubt that feast upon unprepared minds find no purchase on souls armored with divine purpose and ancestral wisdom. Where other men might toss and turn in restless anxiety about tomorrow's dangers, these warriors rest in the profound peace that comes from absolute acceptance of fate's design. They have looked death in the face during countless dream journeys and found it to be not an enemy but a teacher, not a destroyer but a transformer who offers the ultimate lesson in the art of letting go. The spiritual alchemy of their sleep continues its mysterious work, transforming base metal of human fear into the gold of divine courage. Each hour of rest adds another layer to their spiritual armor, each dream another weapon in their arsenal of inner strength. They are being prepared not just for physical combat, but for the deeper war that rages in every human heart. The eternal struggle between the coward's voice that counsels retreat and the hero's call that demands advance, despite all odds. In sleep, surrounded by brothers who share their commitment to honor above life, they remember who they truly are beneath the temporary flesh that clothes their immortal warrior spirits. Night terrors that would visit lesser men cannot penetrate the protective circle created by proper ritual preparation. The demons of doubt that feast upon unprepared minds find no purchase on souls armored with divine purpose and ancestral wisdom. Where other men might toss and turn in restless anxiety about tomorrow's dangers, these warriors rest in the profound peace that comes from absolute acceptance of fate's design. They have looked death in the face during countless dream journeys and found it to be not an enemy, but a teacher, not a destroyer but a transformer, who offers the ultimate lesson in the art of letting go. The spiritual alchemy of their sleep continues its mysterious work, transforming base metal of human fear into the gold of divine courage. Each hour of rest adds another layer to their spiritual armor, each dream another weapon in their arsenal of inner strength. They are being prepared not just for physical combat, but for the deeper war that rages in every human heart, the eternal struggle between the coward's voice that counsels retreat and the hero's call that demands advance despite all odds. In sleep, surrounded by brothers who share their commitment to honor above life, They remember who they truly are beneath the temporary flesh that clothes their immortal warrior spirits. The collective unconscious of their brotherhood creates a shared battlefield where individual limitations are transcended through group consciousness. Here, Bjorn's experience in single combat combines with Magnus's understanding of pack tactics and Thorvald's mastery of weaponcraft to create a warrior entity that surpasses the sum of its parts. Each sleeper contributes his unique strengths to the collective pool, while drawing upon the accumulated wisdom of the whole. They are learning, in the deepest hours of night, how to fight not as 30 individuals but as a single, 30-bodied warrior, whose coordination will seem supernatural to enemies who face them in the light of day. The transformation nears completion as the darkest hour passes and the first subtle shift toward dawn begins to stir in the cosmic rhythm that governs day and night. Their breathing remains steady and deep, but now it carries the authority of those who have journeyed to the edge of existence and returned with sacred knowledge. Their still forms radiate the quiet confidence of weapons perfectly maintained and properly blessed, tools of divine will prepared to serve forces greater than individual desire or personal ambition. They sleep on, but they are no longer merely resting, they are becoming. The turning of the night reaches its sacred culmination as the warriors enter the deepest chambers of sleep, where the boundaries between mortal flesh and immortal spirit dissolve like frost beneath spring sun. Here, in this profound darkness that exists beyond the reach of ordinary dreams, they undergo the final preparation that transforms men into legends. Their breathing becomes so subtle it seems they hover at the very threshold of death, their hearts beating with the slow, measured rhythm of cosmic forces that govern the movement of stars and the changing of seasons. In this ultimate depth, they dream the dreams of gods, vast, incomprehensible visions that span centuries and encompass the fate of nations, yet unborn. They see themselves as single threads in a tapestry that stretches from the world's beginning to its final twilight, each warrior's life a necessary strand, without which the entire pattern would unravel. The knowledge brings not pride but profound humility, the understanding that their individual glory serves a purpose far greater than personal ambition or the hunger for fame. They are instruments in the hands of fate, weapons wielded by forces that care nothing for human desire but everything for cosmic balance. The spirits of legendary warriors, who have walked this path before them, emerge from the deepest shadows of the dream realm, their forms flickering between memory and prophecy. These ancient heroes, whose deeds are sung in halls across the Northlands, approach the sleeping warriors not as distant legends, but as elder brothers, who understand the weight of the burden being accepted. Their presence carries the authority of those who have faced the final test and emerged victorious, their spirits refined by battles fought in realms where defeat means not merely death, but the dissolution of everything that makes a soul worthy of remembrance. Ragnar Blood Eagle, whose name echoes in saga and song, places his spectral hand upon Bjorn's sleeping brow. The touch carries with it the accumulated wisdom of a dozen lifetimes spent in service to the warrior's path, each lesson learned through pain that transcended the merely physical, to touch the very core of what it means to be human. The ancient hero's spirit flows into the younger warrior, like water poured from one vessel to another, carrying knowledge that cannot be spoken, wisdom that can only be transmitted from soul to soul in moments of ultimate vulnerability and trust. The collective consciousness of their brotherhood reaches its peak intensity as individual identities merge into something that transcends human limitation, while retaining human compassion. They become a single organism with 30 faces, a warrior entity whose coordination will seem to their enemies like the workings of supernatural forces. Each man retains his individual courage and skill, while gaining access to the combined strength and wisdom of the whole. They learn to think with one mind while acting with 30 bodies, to feel each other's wounds while sharing each other's victories. The weapons surrounding their sleeping forms begin to glow with an inner light that has nothing to do with fire or moonbeam, but everything to do with the spiritual energy generated by warriors who have achieved perfect unity of purpose. Steel forged in earthly flames takes on the characteristics of metal blessed in divine fires, each edge sharpened not by whetstone, but by the absolute commitment of those who wield them. These tools of war become extensions of purified will, instruments through which the gods themselves will strike at the enemies of order and justice. Ancient runes appear in the air above their sleeping forms, burning letters of power that spell out prophecies written in the first days of the world. The symbols shift and change like living things, their meanings accessible only to those who have prepared their souls to receive divine communication. Some speak of victory achieved through sacrifice, others of glory won through suffering that refines the spirit like gold, tested in fire. All of them carry the same essential message, that tomorrow's battle is but the visible manifestation of struggles that began in the realm of spirit and will be decided by forces that transcend the merely physical. The fire that burns at the center of their longhouse transforms from simple flame into something approaching divine presence, its light revealing truths invisible to ordinary sight. In its flickering illumination, the sleeping warriors appear to be carved from stone and starlight, their forms possessed of the eternal stillness that characterizes sacred statues in the temples of gods. Yet beneath this marble stillness flows the hot blood of heroes prepared to pour out their lives like libations offered on the altar of honor and duty. Dreams within dreams unfold like flowers of ice and iron, each layer revealing deeper truths about the nature of courage and the meaning of sacrifice. They witness the cosmic war that rages between order and chaos, seeing how their small battle fits into the vast struggle that has been waging since consciousness first emerged from the primal darkness. Their individual deaths, should they occur, will feed the great fire that burns at the heart of existence, providing fuel for the light that holds back the encroaching shadows that would devour all meaning and purpose. The transformation reaches its crescendo in the hour before dawn, when night's darkness begins its slow retreat before the advancing light of day. The warriors' souls, refined through hours of spiritual preparation, achieve a state of crystalline clarity that cuts through illusion like swords through fog. They see themselves and their enemies with perfect understanding, recognizing friends and foes not by the colors they wear or the languages they speak, but by the spiritual essence that radiates from souls either aligned with or opposed to the cosmic order they serve. Time itself seems to slow and thicken like honey poured in winter cold, each moment stretched to contain eternities of meaning and significance. In this suspended state between night and dawn, between dreams and waking, between mortality and legend, they achieve the perfect balance that allows mere humans to become vessels worthy of divine purpose. They are ready now for whatever fate may demand of them, prepared to meet victory and defeat with equal grace, because they have learned the deepest secret of the warrior's path, that how one dies matters infinitely more than whether one lives. The longhouse holds them in its wooden embrace like a mother protecting her children through the dangerous hours of night, its walls standing firm against the wind and weather that would disturb their sacred rest. Within its blessed bounds, 30 warriors complete the transformation that changes men into myths, mortals into legends, whose deeds will echo through the halls of memory long after their bodies have returned to the earth that birthed them. They sleep on, but they are no longer the same men who laid down their heads when darkness fell. They have become something more than human, something worthy of the songs that will celebrate their names when tomorrow's battle is won. The first pale breath of dawn touches the smoke hole above like a whisper from distant gods, carrying with it the promise of battle and the scent of destiny approaching on wings of frost-touched wind. The warriors stir not as men awakening from mere sleep, but as spirits returning from journeys to realms beyond mortal comprehension. Their eyes open with the clarity of those who have gazed upon truth itself and found it beautiful in its terrible simplicity. Each awakening is a resurrection, each breath drawn in dawn's light, a conscious choice to return to the world of flesh and steel, after dwelling in places where only courage and honor have substance. Yorn the raven-born rises from his furs like a mountain emerging from morning mist, his movements carrying the authority of one who has received divine instruction and accepted the weight of sacred duty. The dreams that visited him in night's deepest hours have left their mark upon his soul like runes carved in stone, each symbol a commandment that will guide his actions when the moment of truth arrives. He does not merely wake but emerges transformed, a vessel prepared to channel forces that transcend individual will and personal desire. His hands reach for weapons not with the eagerness of one seeking glory, but with the reverence of a priest handling sacred relics. The ritual of awakening unfolds with the same ceremonial precision that marked their descent into sleep, each gesture carrying meaning that reaches beyond practical necessity into the realm of spiritual significance. They do not simply dress for battle, but don the armor of their transformed selves. Each piece of mail and leather, a physical manifestation of the spiritual protection earned through night's long journey. The weapons that waited patiently through hours of darkness, welcome their master's touch with the eager song of steel that has been blessed by proximity to purified souls. Magnus the wolf's blood stretches muscles that have been refined by dreams of running with his pack across endless tundra, his body now possessed of the fluid grace that comes from unity of spirit and flesh. The pack consciousness, learned in sleep, remains with him in waking, allowing him to sense the position and intention of his brothers without need of word or glance. They move around the longhouse like dancers performing a ritual older than memory, each warrior finding his place in the greater pattern, with the certainty of stars following their appointed courses across heaven's vault. Young Eric's face carries new lines that speak not of age but of wisdom gained through dreams that compressed lifetimes of experience into single night's journey. The boy who laid down to sleep has been replaced by a warrior who understands his place in the great tapestry of fate, his individual thread necessary to the completion of the pattern even if his name is forgotten by those who benefit from his sacrifice. He buckles on his sword with hands that no longer tremble, his spirit armored with the knowledge that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite terror's icy grip upon the heart. The fire that sustained them through night's vigil burns lower now, but still provides the light by which they complete their preparation, its flames revealing faces marked by the stamp of divine purpose. These are no longer merely men preparing for battle, but instruments of fate tuned to perfect pitch, weapons of justice sharpened on the whetstone of spiritual discipline. The smoke that rises from ember and coal carries with it the essence of their prayers and preparations, bearing their offerings to gods who watch over warriors and judge the worthiness of those who would enter the halls of eternal glory. Thorvald, the silent, moves through his final preparations with the contained violence of a drawn bow, his every gesture economical and precise. The weapon's wisdom learned in dreams has settled into his bones and sinews, transforming him into something that transcends mere human skill to approach divine artistry. His silence has deepened during the night hours, becoming not merely the absence of words but the presence of perfect communication that requires no language save the sharing of spirit with spirit, soul with soul. The collective consciousness forged in sleep's deepest hours remains with them as they complete their awakening ritual, 30 individuals united by bonds stronger than blood and deeper than brotherhood. They move with supernatural coordination, each warrior instinctively aware of his brother's position and intention. The shared dreams that visited them in darkness have created a group mind that will manifest in battle as tactics so perfectly coordinated they will seem to their enemies like the workings of sorcery rather than martial skill. The weapons arranged around their sleeping places throughout the night now sing with spiritual energy as they are taken up by hands prepared to wield them as extensions of divine will. Steel forged in earthly flames carries now the characteristics of metal blessed in heaven's fires, each edge honed not merely by whetstone but by the absolute commitment souls refined through ritual and trial. These tools of war have become sacred instruments through which the gods themselves will strike at the enemies of order and cosmic justice. Outside the longhouse, the world holds its breath in the peculiar stillness that comes before great events, as if nature herself recognizes the significance of what is about to unfold. The wind carries scents of snow and distant smoke, speaking of enemies who have spent the night in restless anxiety while these warriors achieved the perfect peace that comes from acceptance of fate's design. Birds fall silent in the presence of men who have touched the realm of gods and returned, bearing the authority of divine purpose. The final moments of preparation unfold like the last verses of an epic poem, each action pregnant with meaning that will echo through halls of memory, long after the battle's end. They check weapons and armor not with the nervous energy of fearful men, but with the methodical care of craftsmen, ensuring their tools are worthy of the work ahead. Every buckle fastened, every blade examined, every shield positioned carries the weight of ritual performed by those who understand that how one prepares for death determines how one lives in the brief time remaining. As dawn's light grows stronger and the moment of departure approaches, the warriors stand transformed by their night's journey through realms where gods walk and heroes are born. They have achieved the perfect balance of spiritual preparation and physical readiness, their souls refined like steel in divine fires, while their bodies remain strong and supple as weapons forged by master smiths. The sleep ritual has accomplished its sacred purpose, transforming 30 men into something approaching the divine, not gods themselves, but vessels worthy of channeling divine will into the world of flesh and blood. The longhouse door stands before them like a portal between worlds, its wooden frame marking the boundary between the sacred space where transformation occurred and the battlefield where that transformation will be tested. Beyond its threshold waits the world of ordinary men who have not learned the secret of turning sleep into spiritual preparation, enemies who will face not merely warriors, but instruments of fate itself. They are ready now for whatever destiny demands, prepared to meet triumph and tragedy with equal grace, because they have learned that how one dies matters infinitely more than whether one lives. 30 warriors stand ready for battle, but they are no longer merely men. They have become legend incarnate, myth made flesh, the living embodiment of stories that will be told around fires long after winter has claimed their mortal forms. The sleep ritual is complete, its purpose fulfilled in the creation of heroes worthy of the sagas that will celebrate their deeds. When memory is all that remains of their brief passage through the world of light and shadow, honor and shame, glory and death,